But there are a lot of areas where there's green liability growing. When we looked at claims, a lot of the early claims in green came out because of unfulfilled expectations, because communications weren't there, because there was a lot of enthusiasm without a lot of follow-through. So owners, often public agencies, were told that, yes, this design would reduce your energy use by 50%. It would not do it. And architects and engineers and contractors would get sued because of it. That expanded to things like cost recovery efforts. So that if, for instance, you made a promise in your contract or the program for a project said that energy use would be cut down by X amount, and it wasn't, that owner, many times a developer, would simply say, wait a minute, because of your negligence, you are going to cost me additional amounts in energy costs over the next 20 years or whatever the life of that building would be. So their effort was to recover some of that additional cost from design professionals and from contractors. So many of the lawsuits were aimed in that direction. There's also a lot of express warranties, some implied, but guarantees or warranties that would come into play where design firms would basically say, we will guarantee that this will be the platinum, or we will guarantee that your energy costs or water use would be reduced. And in that case, it doesn't matter whether or not they were negligent. It just matters that the final outcome did not meet the warranty. So a lot of early claims related to sustainability weren't even professional liability claims. And in fact, that's, in many states, that's where fraud and misrepresentation claims came in. Deceptive practices by design professionals, where they misled a client into thinking that savings would be achieved, or these owners were misled in the sense that maintenance costs would be higher, but no one ever discussed that up front. So they would bring fraud, misrepresentation, deceptive practices, false inducement to contract, and a number of other things that aren't professional liability claims against architects and engineers. There's also was the issue of product liability and product warranties, because what happened early on, and I think it's still happening today, is the market gets flooded with new products. Many of those new products do not work as well as intended. And in many cases, there's no track record for those new products. And design professionals perhaps did not do due diligence in really examining those new products. Owners were led to believe the new products would be advantageous to them. They bought into it. When they found out that those products did not work as recommended, they often would go after design professionals and product manufacturers. Product warranties tend to be pretty short. Design professionals are usually at risk for many, many years. It may be cut off by a statute of repose. Often it's not, depending on how the claim against them is based or exactly what services were provided. So we found situations where products failed, but the one being sued was the design professional. So those kind of risks were quite significant early on. Now, again, when you're designing to some green standard, you have a professional obligation. The rising standard of care says you have to understand what's going on. You have to do some research and documentation. You can't simply accept the manufacturer's statement of what this product would do at face value. You have to look into it. There's also, the requirements of codes or third-party certifications that can affect your liability and your professional obligations. Likewise, you sign contracts. If you're not using the standard AIA contract, you can get yourself into a lot of trouble. We'll talk about the new AIA contracts in a moment. But many times in client-generated contracts, there were statements or expectations of performance. They often would replace the negligence standards with either a much higher standard or contractual or warranty obligations that would exceed what your normal legal liability would be and what your professional liability insurance coverage would be.